And just like that, UFO crash retrievals are now mainstream. This is by Steve McCambly. What happened? Eric W. Davis, a renowned astrophysicist who worked as a subcontractor and then a consultant for the Pentagon UFO program since 2007, recently stated that in some cases the examination of the material retrieved from some UFOs has, according to the New York Times, quote, failed to determine their source, end quote, which has led Davis to conclude that we could not make it ourselves. New York Times went on to explain Davis, who now works for Aerospace Corporation, a defense contractor, said he gave a classified briefing to a Defense Department agency as recently as March about retrievals from, quote, off-world vehicles not made on this earth, end quote. The cover photo comes from Billy Mayer. Whether it's real or fake, it's up to you to decide. Now, there are a few of his publications if you are interested in exploring further in the link below in the article. Now, how cool would it have been at the briefing? New York Times is claiming, or was told, that the government could not identify the source, but according to Davis, they clearly know that these materials are not made from Earth. As a side note, the picture of the article comes from NASA Lockheed senior scientist Norman Bergram, taken from Voyager mission 1980. Now this thing here that we see is from the Chile Navy. It's from a UFO releasing some kind of an aerial spray that was white and then turned black over the skies of Chile. And no one knows what this aircraft was doing and why it was doing this. Anyway, as a side note, the article coming from NASA Lockheed senior scientist Norman Bergram, taken from the Voyager mission in 1980. It's an unidentified craft that is extremely and unimaginably large. Norman believes that these are extraterrestrial vehicles, quote unquote. Quote, the Voyager mission was tasked with photographing Saturn, its rings, and its moons, and you can read more about that story in the link here below. Now, when someone like Eric Davis speaks, it's hard not to take notice of what he's saying and explore it with an open mind. For many years, he was a member of the National Institute for Discovery Sciences, NIDS. It's owned by Robert Bigelow, the Chief Science Officer of Earth Tech International, Inc., and the Institute for Advanced Studies in Austin, Texas. He's the owner, chief executive, chief scientist of Warp Drive Metrics, who consults and contracts for the Department of Defense. He's also an adjunct professor in the Early Universe, Cosmology, and Strings Group at the Center for Astrophysics, Space Physics, and Engineering Research at Baylor University in Waco, Texas. Davis has hinted to the idea that he himself is aware of the source of these objects, just as many others have as well. New York Times does not touch on that in their reporting, though, and we'll explore the potential reason why New York Times left that out in a moment. And Apollo 14 astronaut Dr. Edgar Mitchell says, yes, there have been crashed craft and bodies recovered, he said. Now, why does this matter? Why this matters? We now have testimony from hundreds of high-ranking individuals, not to mention actual video footage, pictures, radar tracking, and other electro-optical data that has been released into the public domain. Yet there still remains such a high level of secrecy and such a limited story that it is told to the public, all while a slow campaign to reveal this information is beginning. The statement from Victor Marchetti, former Special Assistant Deputy Director of Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, does not seem to hold so true anymore, at least the last part. Quote, we have indeed been contacted, perhaps even visited, by extraterrestrial beings, and the U.S. government, in collusion with the other national powers of the earth, is determined to keep this information from the general public, end quote. Second Look, Volume 1, Number 7, Washington, D.C., May 1979. This is confusing for many who are paying attention because for so long, the human race has been subjected to an, quote, official campaign of ridicule and secrecy, end quote, about UFOs and ETs. This is what ex-CIA Director Roscoe Hellencotter said. So why all of the disclosure all of a sudden? When mainstream media covers big topics based on observations, there's usually a staggering amount of manipulation and disinformation involved Is this what we will see or are seeing with the UFO topic now that it is becoming popular in the mainstream? I don't know. Is it a possibility? Yes, and you could read more about that specific topic in the article below if you're interested. Now, are they simply preparing humanity for the inevitable? Navigating the UFO topic and deciphering between credible information and misinformation can be difficult. Note the Roscoe Hillenkotter quote above, but also note others have come forward claiming that it was their job to spread misinformation within the field, like former retired Air Force Special Investigations Officer Richard Doughty, and you could read more about that in the link here in the article. Scientist and renowned UFO researcher Jacques Vallée has also come across documents that show, in his words, conclusively that the CIA was conducting fake alien abductions to South America as part of their psychological warfare program, and you can read more about the link there. Has there been misinformation spread into the field of UFOs, which represents a very real phenomenon, and why? Based what I've come across is simply to create a divide amongst the UFO community, as well as make it harder to determine what's real, what's not real, what's true, what's not true, and making it harder to arrive at any kind of real truth that people can unite behind. What did the New York Times not tell you? When it comes to Eric Davis, there is a very important story to be told, and it deals with one of the biggest and most significant leaks in UFO history when it comes to documentation. The document in question goes into detail about a meeting that was held between Dr. Eric Davis and Vice Admiral Thomas Ray Wilson. Since the leak of that document, there has been no denial publicly by Davis regarding the authenticity of these documents, and the focal point of the document is about a meeting and what happened after that meeting that took place in 1997 between UFO researcher Dr. Stephen Greer, Admiral Wilson, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, Apollo 14 astronaut, and other high-ranking individuals within the military. This meeting was spoken about by Dr. Greer and Dr. Mitchell, the astronaut, nearly 4 years prior to the leak of these documents, so it's all very interesting. The conclusion, the takeaway. The topic of UFO leaves no aspect of humanity untouched. It has huge implications for human consciousness and opens up new understanding about nature of reality, history, science, technology, metaphysics, and more. At the end of the day, change ultimately does come from new discoveries and technology. It comes from the consciousness behind these new discoveries and technology. People say there are technologies out there that can drastically change the world, help us all thrive. But again, it's not the technology, it's our level of consciousness that determines how this technology will be used or not used. What we're going to do with the information that we learn. Why would we use our most advanced technology for weaponry and population control? Why would we not use it to create a world that will help everyone thrive? Perhaps looking out into the unknown provides a message for looking at ourselves within and questioning what exactly it is we're doing on this planet and why we're doing it. The primary reason humanity uses these technologies for war instead of peace and a thriving world is because we're simply in a state of unconsciousness and are tied to a story of separation. As we expand our awareness into who we really are, our connection to the oneness, the fabric of our reality, begins to change how we operate and use technology on this planet. Human beings have the potential to create an experience where everyone can thrive. The expansion and evolution of consciousness is vital, and the reality that we are not alone and have likely been visited many times is truly a global paradigm-shifting reality. This is from Collective Evolution and is published here under Creative Commons on Collective Spark by Steve McCamley. Now, a lot of these UFOs and extraterrestrials, there are those who believe that Atlanteans have not exactly all disappeared and that they could be hiding, and what craft we see could be theirs. They had very advanced technology and lived for tens of thousands of years, as the Sumerian King's List and the Emerald Tablets tell us. Please leave your comment and thank you for your support, and if you'd like, please support my Patreon account as well. Thank you. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.